Jumpin' In on Manx Radio.
With Howard and Chris Kane.
Hello.
Good evening.
And welcome. And off we go again into another year. Who knows what it might hold? However, whatever happens, you can guarantee there'll be some great sounds around on Saturday night at 9 o'clock because it is Jumpin' In, the best in modern and contemporary jazz with myself, H.
And me, Chris. Yes, hello and welcome along to the show. And can you believe it? We're halfway through January already, with the thoughts of Christmas consigned to a mere aberration on this month's credit card statement. Never mind, it'll soon be half-term before you know it, and we'll be undoubtedly in need of some winter sun by then. So better start tightening those belts. Have a go at those resolutions, as you know they won't make it through February. So, H, what jazzical goodness have you resolved to bring us this week, and what's naughty but nice enough to keep irrespective of your well-known iron resolve?
I'm just listening with a new one on me, relatively, a Chien Chien Lu, another great vibes player, one to look out for. So it's called I Do Have, one of our features. We haven't done this for a while. Old and New Dreams with a man who is still with us but not playing anymore. And we might get to a bit sooner or later with Julia Hulsmann.
And for me, we dance, we fly like a bird, we compare as we say goodbye, and to start, we balance. Here's Chuck Owen and the WDR Big Band with Knife's Edge. Life's Edge from Renderings, the latest from the WDR Big Band and Florida-based composer and arranger Chuck Owen, he of the Jazz Surge fame. The 19-piece big band Chuck formed back in 1995, so it's a rare treat to hear him arranging for a different band. And as regulars listeners will know, there are none finer than the WDR, whose other release in the last year was a fantastic big band arrangement of Bach's Goldberg Variations, which I'm sure we can bring you on another show. The track we just heard was written by Chuck specifically for the album and featured great solos from Paul Heller on tenor, one of the band regulars, and Andy Hederer on trumpet, and drummer Hans Decker. Great album, a nice programme made up of 3 Owen originals, 3 from members of the band, and rounded off with 1 from Chick Corea and a standard popularised by Sinatra in the 40s, This Love Is Mine. Another great release from a fabulous band, Renderings.
Super stuff. Well, an emerging jazz artist to watch for 2023, according to Grammy Awards, and a soulful modernist on the rise, according to Dan Balowski at allaboutjazz.com, is Chien Chien Lu, a vibes player. Vibes been around for a long time, super cool sound for a lot of people. Not everyone, we know. We know at least of one fan of the show who was not a massive fan of the vibes, if we're perfectly frank about it, but there we go. He pays you money, as they say, but it's been around for quite a few years in jazz, and Chien Chien Lu has been playing it for the last few years. Not as well known as some, perhaps, but is certainly carving out a name for herself and is still pretty young. Born in Taiwan, she studied classical percussion before coming to Philadelphia's University of the Arts in 2015 to study jazz vibes, and she graduated with a Master of Music in Jazz Studies, and in 2017 was at the Banff Jazz Residency in Canada, where she met the faculty member there, one Jeremy Pelt. Yes, I think we know who he is. And Jeremy was so impressed, he invited Lu to be part of his working band and play on 3 of his recordings. This album, Built-In System, live from New York, came out on my birthday, in fact, in October the 6th of last year, and features Jeremy Pelt on trumpet, the bassist Richie Goods, and drummer Alan Mednard. And this track is called Just Listen. Chien Chien Lu and her quartet with Jeremy Pelt on trumpet there, bassist Richie Goods, drummer Alan Mednard, who have been playing for some time together. The other two play with Jeremy, and Jeremy spotted her at Banff. As we were hearing, Lou composed all the music on the album. I haven't checked all the album out yet, but what I've heard, I've really enjoyed it, has to be said. She says it comes from three central themes: fate, what happens to us is predetermined, and we're meant to cross paths with certain people and experience certain things. Relocating to new communities is an incredibly enriching experience and exposes us to new ideas, customs, way of life, and the importance of cultural heritage. I refer to these things as my built-in system, and I often draw ideas from these themes when I create and play music. Well, I can't disagree with any of that, really. Sort of getting around new cultures, trying new things is always sort of life-broadening or life-enhancing, isn't it, one way or another, I think. And certainly I would be keeping an eye open for her, as I say. I'm one of the emerging jazz artists in 2023, so I will be looking at in 2024 to see what she is up to based on that album. I think, yeah, got a very promising future, and I do like the sound of the vibes. A built-in system live from New York is on the Giant Step Arts label and came out in October last year.
And Jeremy Pelt rarely go wrong with anything that he's on under his own name or anybody else's. Next from me, a curious project called Melodies of Light from pianist Omri Moore and drummer Oli Nehema. More on which shortly, but for now, here's Movement 3, The Dance. Dancers from Melodies of Light. And I said it was a curious project from pianist Omri Moore and drummer Ofri Nehema. They were both engaged on a session for South African bassist Joseph Gutman-Levy and guitarist Lionel Luque, playing an album called Soul Song, which is worth checking out independently. However, they'd completed the album but still had significant booked studio time available, so the pair used it to record an album of improvised vignettes and Melodies of Light is the result. It was time well spent, I think, and it exposes both Omri's Israeli cultural upbringing and the close relationship between the two musicians who regularly play on Avishai Cohen's, both of the two Avishai Cohen's, the trumpeter and the bass player's albums.
Terrific stuff, yeah, quite like that. That sort of pizzicato effect where he's damping the strings down. Very nice indeed. Julia Hulsmann, no stranger to this programme. We spoke to her 2 or 3 years ago at the London Jazz Festival. Probably more, and I say that's probably 4 or 5 years ago. I lose track. Suffice to say, she was really charming, great fun, a great laugh, and yes, we had a really lovely time speaking to her, and she was very generous with her time, having just done a gig. And she was, been on the ECM label for some time, and I ignored her for quite a long time. I thought, well, it's not really my bag. And then I saw her several years earlier, actually, in concert at the London Jazz Festival with the vocalist Theo Blackman, who uses lots of effects. And whilst it's well known, we're not massive jazz vocals fans, I really liked Theo because he was really different, singing different timbres and pitches and using effects and electronics on his voice, which really always appeals to me. And that was a wonderful ECM album as well. And since then I've picked up several of hers, and every time I think, I must have most of them, I sort of spot another one. This one was at an incredibly sizable, biggest CD emporium we've seen for quite some time, at a jazz festival at Dinan last year with a wonderful gentleman from, I think, Holland or Germany it was, I can't remember now, but he had thousands of CDs there, including this one, Sooner or Later, Julia with her trio she's been running for quite a few years now. Julia on piano, Mark Mühlbauer on double bass, and Heinrich Köbeling on drums. And yeah, I sort of thought, have I got that one? And I looked at it again, I thought, no, I haven't got that one. So it's we'll try it out and see how it goes. Have a listen to this. It's very much her sort of usual fare, that lovely spacious ECM sound. Love it. And if you're a Radiohead fan, you might recognise that one. All I Need by Radiohead, given an interpretation there by the Julia Hulsmann trio. Julia on piano, Mark Mulber double bass, Heinrich Köberling on drums, and they've been playing together for quite some time now from an album in 2017 called Sooner and Later on ECM. She's been around for quite some time and has studied with some wonderful names. I mean, she started out in Berlin and was very fond of the likes of Chick Corea and Bill Evans, Michael Brecker, Miles Davis, some great names there. Was in Frankfurt for a while, then started studying in Berlin, where she had teachers including Walter Norris, Aki Takazi and David Friedman, and cited Don Grondick as a great influence on her music. And then later on she took lessons in early 2000, 20 odd years ago now. She was in New York studying, where she studied with Richie Beirach, Maria Schneider, Gil Goldstein and Jane Ara Bloom. Not a bad lineup for the teachers. No wonder she can play very well. Lovely, like I said, really lovely soul as well. And anything by Julia Hulsmann, I've really enjoyed it. Looking forward to whatever her next move might be. I think her last one, she had a quartet with a sax player, which is very good.
And next for me, a drummer, which I'm unfamiliar with, a new name on me, Tina Redmond. She's actually on her second or third album. She's got a couple of different bands, but she's a regular in the drum seat with pianist and composer Rachel Eckroth, whose album The Garden, which I think won many awards back in 2021. But for this set, she's got a fabulous trio together with guitarist Andrew Renfro and bassist Carl McComas Reichel. Here's Swainson's Hawk. Swainson's Hawk there, taken from drummer Tina Raymond's recent release Divination, with guitarist Andrew Renfrew sounding for me much like a young John Abercrombie, and none the worse for that, with bassist Carl McComas Reichel settling down a great loping groove on that track, and Divinations is out now.
Very fine it is too, and you're right, it does sound like a young John I can't even say it, a young John Abercrombie. If you closed your eyes and you didn't know any better, you would think it was John Abercrombie, it must be said. This next gentleman, young he ain't in years, but on the keyboard, he still sounds like he's in his 20s. Marshall Salal, amazing player, who has actually now retired. But I'm very pleased to say he's still with us in his 90s. But he decided to quit while you're at top at the age of a mere 91 or 92, I think, with his final concert, a solo concert live at Salgavo in 2019. And he was still sounding as fresh as paint, taking old standards and taking them apart, putting them all back together. And yeah, just the fleet of finger, the imagination, the sort of musical knowledge, everything coming to play, and you would just not believe the years of the man when you hear him on the keyboard. You'd think it was someone 30 years or more younger. Here he is, taking apart and putting back together again for a quick drink of tea for two.
this is Mark Elias, saluting Chris and H on Jumpin' In.
It's a bit different, isn't it? Olga Konkova, not heard from her for some time, a Russian pianist. Return Journey, that was, on the Lerson label, which I found floating around the bottom of the bag, recorded in 2011 by Espen Amundsen, solo stuff. I've got several of her records knocking around. I haven't played for quite some time, and I think that must have been in the bag for a while. Just spotted and thought, oh, give her a spin. Always a nice player, I must admit. Very little known on the circuit. I've never seen her play live, and you hear not much from her, but she certainly has 2 or 3 out in solo and usually smaller formats, solos, duos and trios with, is it Per Johansson, I think, her other half bass player, if memory serves correct. Before that, yes, I did say it was going to be Old and New Dreams, and that's what it was meant to be with Marshall Salah, but for the fact that the Old Dreams part of it, unfortunately, Unfortunately, I brought the CD case without the CD. Yeah, I know, old age creeping in, it must be. I left it in the player at home, so I could only play the most recent one, his last concert ever, in fact, in Salgavo in 2019, when he was a mere 92, and he decided it was probably time to give up. Whilst he was still playing. Could you believe that was a 91, 92-year-old playing the piano? I certainly couldn't. Unbelievable, the ideas he had. And when we saw him in Bath again in his mere 80s, he was just unbelievable in a trio setting. Terrific stuff. I'm glad to say he's enjoying retirement somewhere, hopefully playing piano just for his own amusement after 60, 70 years of playing elsewhere. Brilliant.
And an incredibly powerful player he was too. He was really laying into the piano with the verve of a 25-year-old, and can't knock him for that. Well, I'm sure that many of you were saddened, as we were, to hear of the death of pianist and composer Les McCann, aged 88 at the beginning of January of this year. Often credited as the father of soul jazz with a love of the blues and gospel, he was also an early proponent of the synth on jazz. But his big breakthrough came as a result of an impromptu set at the Montreux Jazz Festival in 1969 with sax maestro Eddie Harris. The pair and their band were recorded on the fly by the sound engineer, just as sound engineers do, and later then got licensed to be released on the Atlantic label as Swiss Movement. The album was a million-seller plus, as was the single taken from it, and the protest song written by an old bandmate of McCann's from years earlier, but it resonated with the anti-Vietnam War movement of the day, and perhaps still holds that resonance with the unfortunate conflicts we're seeing today. Here's Compared to What. See you next week.
Indeed.
The love are hanging on, we push and shove. Possession is the motivation that is hanging up the goddamn nation. Looks like we always end up in a rut. Everybody now trying to make it real compared to what? Come on, baby. Slaughterhouses are killing hogs, twisted children are killing frogs, poor dumb rednecks rolling logs, tired old ladies kissing the dogs. I hate the human love of that stinking mud. I can't use it, trying to make it real compared to what? behind his war. Folks don't know just what it's for. Nobody gives us a rhyme or reason. Half of one doubt, they call it treason. With chicken feathers all the way out one nut. God damn it, trying to make it real compared to what suck you to me. On Sunday sleeping nod, trying to duck the wrath of God. Preachers filling us with fright. They all trying to teach us what they think is right. They really got to be some kind of nut. I can't use it, trying to make it real compared to what Mother Baby had. Be and where's that honey? Where's my God and where's my money? Unreal values, a crass distortion. Unwed mothers need abortion. Kind of brings to my old young King Tut. He did it now, trying to make it real compared to what Don Dean, Roy Vinegar, Benny Bailey, Eddie Harris.